welcome to the Science Faction Podcast, where science meets fact meets fiction.
This is Science Faction for the week of December 31st, 2024. I'm one of your hosts, Stephen Dominguez, and with me today, two gentlemen celebrating the death of 2024.
Yo, it's Benjamin Daniel Lawless. Get out of here, 2024. Good riddance.
Devin Kraft.
Devin's here.
I'm here, present.
What is up, my dudes? All three of us back on the podcast, sounding beautifully. What is up, guys?
Yeah, it looks like, okay, so the last time we were all three on an episode together, it was on December 4th of this year. So not quite a month, but it's been a month.
It's been a month, guys. This has been the December from hell. For me,
it's only been half a month for you.
Yeah, I mean, there were several days where I was not conscious.
Poor guy.
Yeah, we've talked about it. We don't have to keep talking about it, but the sickness went through the house. Half the month was evaporated. But that's enough about me. Devin, I see here on the notes that you've put it extensively the word trip. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I was going down the stairs the other day in my house, and I tripped on something the kids had put on the stairs, and I fell down one step. But I'm good.
Oh, geez.
What?
No, I'm kidding.
I'm so happy that you're okay, sir.
No, excuse me. No, I did that. Did not occur. I went to Oregon.
Which one? Liver, stomach, intestines?
The state of Oregon. We flew into Portland, and then we drove to the coast and stayed in Lincoln City with my family for a week over Christmas, and it was fun. It was because usually we go to Oregon and we go to Sun River, which is near excuse me, Mount Bachelor, which is where we go skiing and snowboarding and stuff. And this time we went to the coast, so there was no skiing. And it was the weather there on the coast during winter is very rainy and windy. So we didn't do a lot of outdoorsy stuff. So it was mostly just hanging around, just with family indoors, which was kind of fun, kind of a nice change. Because when you're snowboarding every day, it's you get up really early, you go snowboarding, you get home, and then you're exhausted, you take a shower, eat dinner, maybe you get in a hot tub, and then go back to sleep and do it all again. So you don't really spend as much time with your family, except for being on the mountain with them, but you're not hanging out, as much.
I was going to say, in that list of things that you just described, sounds great, but nowhere in there at all was childcare. Where do they go when you go snowboarding?
Well, we haven't, since we've had kids, we actually haven't gone to Sun River. I think once we had Nolan and Elliot wasn't born yet. And so because, my mom used to ski, but she doesn't anymore that I remember. So I think she watched Nolan when we would do that the last time we did it. But it's been a few years since we did it at all. So maybe that's one of the reasons they decided to do it this way this year was because of that. I don't know. We didn't really talk about it. But my cousin Sarah and her husband and their kid, who's 11, 12, they were going to Sun River for another week after this. So they were doing that anyway. But
cool.
So you sent us a video of your children screaming. At Poseidon's domain, at the ocean, on the edge of the ocean. How often do they get to see the ocean?
Well, not that often, considering we don't live on the coast anymore. We live in East Texas, and the closest ocean is about maybe a 4-hour drive. They do go. There's a yearly trip that Jen and her sister take the kids on to. I think it's somewhere in Mississippi that's at the ocean, and they go to the beach and play in the ocean. So they're familiar with it. But but this was like the waves there are insane. Like in Oregon when we were there because of the stormy weather. And I think maybe just that area of the ocean is pretty rough.
In general, Oregon is not a swimming beach kind of place.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. I would not want to.
Yeah.
From what I saw, I would not want to be in those waves ever. It's like multiple layers of waves crashing on top of each other, and then in the distance, huge waves cresting and crashing. I'm like, you would not survive this, I don't think so.
No, you
I would not want to be in that water. But that was the thing, that's why it was so crazy. It's like just this roiling ocean of death. Like it looked pretty cool. So but yeah, other than that, like we didn't really do a whole lot. Like what did we do? Oh, we went to a lighthouse on the coast. We took a tour inside, which was cool. Unfortunately, they didn't let you up to the actual light, which they used to do on the tours, but they're like, we stopped doing that. I'm like, well, that was kind of the part I was looking forward to the most.
How come? Why can't you see the giant lens?
They didn't really say why. I mean, it's a lot of stairs. Maybe they were, I don't know, maybe people got injured or maybe people touched the lens because it's still active as in it's on. It obviously doesn't serve the same purpose, but it's on just as a historical marker.
They don't want to blind people who are going to stare at the light.
Yeah.
Or maybe people kept spitting on it. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. So that was fun. That was cool to do that. And we went. Where else did we go? We drove around to some of the places on the coast. We went to Tillamook. Do you know? Or Tillamook?
The cheese place?
Yeah.
Tillamook.
Yeah, I'm sure their brand. I mean, they sell cheese everywhere and ice cream, and they have like you go to the town of Tillamook. I think it's OOK, but I think you pronounce it like a U, Tillamook. I don't know, but they have a really cool facility, like a brand new. It looked really new. Like it's got like a cafeteria. It's got a huge like place to buy different types of ice cream, obviously different types of cheeses, and then it has a tour, like a self-guided tour you can take where you kind of walk through their actual cheese making facility, but you're on like the second level, and it's just you can see through all the windows into the like factory floor where they're doing everything, and then of course there's descriptions of what's going on. So it's kind of cool to see that process.
I just found their website, and it is a banger. When you scroll all the way down to the bottom, cheese flies up and then flies back down again. I've had the most fun with this website all year from any website. Anyways, sorry.
Oh, dude. Yeah, that is rad.
That's really cool. I don't know how to pronounce it. That sounds like a lot of fun, though, Devin. Did your kids, did they shout at the cheese like they did at the ocean?
No, they did not. But yeah, they enjoyed it. They liked the ice cream, of course.
Oh,
depending on how fast you scroll to the bottom of the page, the cheese like flies higher.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
Velocity.
Cheese velocity.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I mean, thanks, Devin.
Yeah, this has been the best story ever.
I'm gonna I don't know if we should keep on recording the podcast because I'm just gonna be scrolling on this page for a while.
It's pretty much peak podcast.
If you go to the website, go to visit and click on Tillamook Creamery, you get a picture of the outside of the facility.
Oh,
and then if you scroll down, you can kind of see pictures from the inside. Get an idea.
That's a giant cow head. Wow.
Yeah.
But does cheese fly up at the bottom? Let's find out. It does. Yes.
Yay.
That's really awesome, man. It sounds like you had a good family visit.
That cow head is really judgy, though.
Well, I mean, this whole building is based on moo juice, so
on exploiting its secretions.
Secretion exploitation. That's a good title.
There it is.
Write that down. Secretion exploitation. Hey guys, I've been doing stuff too.
Oh, hey Stephen, what have you been doing?
Oh man, a lot. So.
Oh yeah. Do tell.
Well, let me get comfortable in my brand new chair that I got, a desk chair for Christmas from my wonderful wife. Like a couple months ago, she came in here to use my computer for something, and sat down in my chair, and she was just like, "Oh," I was like, "What?" And she goes, "There's no padding," and I was like, I guess not." And then I went and sat in her desk chair, and I was like, "This
I
is
take the
luxurious."
padding with me. The padding's with me all the time.
Yeah, the padding's attached, ma'am. How dare you? She's got more padding than I do. Anyways, so the chair had no padding. The padding's attached. We're not using that title at all. I'd be divorced. Yeah, she got me a new chair for Christmas, which was awesome, and I'm sitting in it now, and it is luxurious. I believe the whatever brand it was, like the subtitle was like the manager's chair, and so yeah, I'm the manager now of my
I could use a new chair.
Yeah. So anyways, have you guys heard of an anime called Dan to Dan?
Yeah. Haven't watched it, but friend of the show, Matt Dixon, he loves it. He thinks it's really, really good.
He recommended it to me. He was like, this is weird, but I think you'll like it. If you liked Delicious in Dungeon, you might like this. It's got some similar vibes, and I was like, all right, I'll give it a shot. It is the best. I absolutely love it. It is so weird, but not too weird. Like, it has a weirdness limit that is, it just hits, like, it just redlines a little bit, and then it comes back, which is good. But essentially, it's got, there's some anime tropes where it's like two high school kids, one's a nerd, one's popular girl. They ran into each other, and then it turns out she believes in ghosts but not aliens. He believes in aliens but not ghosts, and so they end up daring each other. One to say, "Hey, you go to where all the ghosts are, and I'll go to where the aliens come, and we'll be on the phone together, and we'll see what happens." This is all in the first episode. And then, spoilers, a ghost shows up, and aliens show up. And then the aliens unlock latent psychic abilities in the girl, and the ghost steals the boy's genitals. Now, listen, this is a great anime.
Yeah.
And I suggest that you watch it. It is not for kids at all.
Okay.
No,
okay.
yeah, not at all for kids. This is adult. What's really interesting though is as the story progresses, there's real heart to it. Crazy stuff happens, but the relationship between this boy and this girl, their like friendship relationship is really strong. And there's more bits and there's weird stuff, and every episode it's like, oh, a new thing, and oh, it turns out aliens and ghosts kind of the same. Like, they kind of put it under an umbrella of like supernatural nonsense, and so it's fine. But they have to, they do battle and banish things, and he's the boy's possessed by this by Turbo Granny, which is like it's this ghost of a granny that she runs real fast. I don't know. It's weird Japanese stuff, but it makes sense within the story. The other bit that's quite interesting is this is based on a manga, however you say it. Manga, Japanese comic book. So the first volume of that you can get for free on Amazon. And so I got it to be like, I wonder how close this is to the show. They used the manga like as storyboards. It's exactly the same. Exactly the same. I read through this first volume and I was like, oh, this is just like most of the first episode, exactly, almost word for word, scene by scene. It's incredible. And there's a lot of volumes. So this anime appears to be pretty popular. I've seen it pop up several places of people being like, hey, you should be watching this. So anyways, I highly recommend it. Adult anime. It's on Netflix. So if you have Netflix, go ahead and chill. The other things I've been doing, I've been reading this book that I got a long time ago called Future Noir. And it's the story of how the movie Blade Runner came to be. And it is a very detailed account of all of it, and it's been a great read so far. If you like the nitty gritty of like filmmaking and stuff, it starts off with like how Philip K. Dick he wrote this story, and then these different writers tried to get it like made a treatment for a screenplay, and then finding funding, and like right now I'm in the point where they're talking about how the VFX were made for certain shots, and it went through the whole movie like scene by scene, interviews with the actors, all the behind the scenes stuff. If you like Blade Runner, it's a must read. It's really, really good. The last little bit I want to talk about are TT RPGs. I wrote RPS for some reason. I came across this one called Perils and Princesses, and I ended up posting it on our Discord because I think patron Renee and her kids would really like it, because she said she posted something like, "Hey, I did a role playing thing and I killed a goblin and I love it," and it was like, finally, that's good stuff right there. But Perils and Princesses. Thanks for the link, Ben. Is like this little role playing game. I say little, it's not little, it's a role playing game. But it's essentially your player characters are princesses, and it's kind of like a bit of a twist on like classic Disney princesses, where like when you're rolling up your character, you have a fairy godmother who grants you certain abilities. And then you have a special gift like, let's see, where's the list here? Wild Heart. Sometimes you wonder if you're deep down more animal than human. Enchanting Voice. When you really unleash your voice, it feels like it echoes beyond the earthly realm. Sprightly Agility, Elemental Connection, Kitchen Magic, Healing Touch, Powerful Friendship, Sage Intellect. It's all of these like tropes that princesses, powers from stories and whatnot. And then you go on adventures, right? You're a princess, you've got some powers, and you go with your fellow princesses on adventures and stuff. It is like it can be family friendly, and then of course it's a tabletop role playing game, so you can get as serious as you want. What's fun, if you go to the website, there'll be a link in the show notes. You can get the free quick start preview on itch.io, which is like 70% of the game, which is kind of cool. It's enough that you could play. And then if you wanted to get, if you wanted to purchase the thing, it's not even that expensive.
No,
it's $25 if you want a hard real life version, and then there's like a PDF version for $12 of the full rules. So yeah, you can go in and buy this thing pretty cheap. And if you have daughters or sons, anyone who wants to play a princess, that is what this really reminded me of was the book series, The Princess in Black. You guys don't have daughters, so you probably don't know too much about this.
No.
There's a wonderful young kid series called The Princess in Black. And essentially, there's a pretty princess living in a castle, but nearby there's a field with a hole that goes down to Monsterland. And every now and then a monster comes out and tries to eat the goats, and the princess secretly turns into the Princess in Black, and her sparkly pink unicorn, turns into Blackie, a horse that goes real fast, and she goes out and beats up the monsters, sends them back to Monsterland, and then turns back into a princess, and she's the Princess in Black. There's been a bunch of stories. There's like 10 books or something like that. My youngest is 6. We read them to her when she was like 5, and she loved them. She still likes them. I highly recommend those if you have daughters or even sons, because it's essentially a superhero story. You got the disguise and the superhero persona, and then as the book series goes on, like all her friends and stuff, they all get their own superhero personas, and it's all like a secret. Nobody knows, but you can, it's fun. Anyways, the last thing I want to talk about, this is it, guys.
Is this it?
This is it. The last one.
Oh, of the year, of the whole year.
Slug Blaster. Kick flip over a quantum centipede. So,
all right.
I've ordered this. I ordered the Game of the Year edition. for like $90, and it's not going to be fulfilled until like March. So it's going to be a while till it shows up. I have linked to the trailer on YouTube for this game. You guys got to watch this thing. Not right now, but you guys have got to watch this thing. It looks like the funnest game. I actually watched, what's the guy's name? Quinn's Quest. So there's a YouTube channel called Shut Up and Sit Down, and they do game reviews. And then one of the guys kind of spun off and do his own thing. His name's Quinn. It's called Quinn's Quest, and it's all role-playing games. He had a whole thing on Mothership, which I've talked about Mothership. We're going to play Mothership. Mothership is great. But then another episode he did, Slug Blaster. And it is an ode to like 90s skate culture, teenagers, plus
it's another tabletop role playing game. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. That's all this is.
This trailer did not start off with that, and neither did our discussion of it. I'm like, oh, it's a video game.
No.
No. All right.
Yeah, it's a role playing game. But you're a teen, and all the cool teens are slug blasting, which is you get your hoverboard and you go through a portal into other realms and you do cool tricks and film them and try to get popular, and then you come home and you have to deal with your parents and homework. And lame. It looks like a ton of fun, and it's also one of those rare role playing games that has an ending, because as you create your character, you have a story arc. And as you play, you go through your story arc, and in the end, after the resolution, you say goodbye to your character because they've, unfortunately, grown up. It's like those classic like teen movies where at the end everyone's learned a lesson and realized you can't be a kid anymore, and so that's kind of fun. Anyways, one day I'm going to talk more about that when it shows up in a few months, and I'm going to force everyone I know to play it probably. Just like all these other role-playing games. So there it is. Those are the things I've been into. That's been my real life.
Steven, my kid has had a very liquidy cough for the last week since Christmas.
Sounds horrible.
Yeah, just really phlegmy, and so we were like, okay, well, I know we kind of were thinking about doing a lot of fun stuff outside and with people for the last week, and let's just not. So yesterday we finally took him to the doctor. He has walking pneumonia. He's on amoxicillin. It's a bacterial thing, so it's like, hey, there's no way to infect other people, and you're, take this antibiotics. You're fine. You can hang
go
out
outside
with people.
And play. Get out of here.
Yeah. And so that means that New Year's Eve is saved thanks to but it meant that throughout the last week we've been playing a lot of video games, watching a bunch of movies. We showed our son Sandlot and The Martian.
Sandlot. I love the Sandlot.
The Sandlot's so good. Oh man, but
so
it's
the
funny.
ending of the Sandlot is like how Slug Blaster ends. Everyone grows up and goes off and disappears.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So I mean, as you're talking about this, I'm like, man, this sounds like Sandlot only in the '90s and not in the '40s or '50s.
40s.
What year was that?
It's earlier than you think. It's not 60s. No, maybe it is 60s.
When they grow up, they're in the 90s as adults.
Right.
So it can't be
that
so
it's
old.
60s. It's got to be 60s. Yeah, because Sandlot 2 is in the 70s.
I'm sorry. What?
You don't.
Sandlot 2?
Yeah.
Well, Sandlot 5 takes place in 2050s.
Right. Well, yeah.
The sand is in space.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sandlot 4 was in an alternate universe version where the Soviets won the space race, and so no.
DePaul was the Empire.
Wow.
I am not kidding about Sandlot 2 being in the 70s. I saw the trailer for it and I was like, oh, that's a thing. Not, and there's also a Sandlot TV show on Disney Plus.
No.
I guess.
No.
I don't know.
But according to IMDb, 1962 is when the Sandlot takes place.
There it is. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But we also watched The Martian, which my son was like, "This is so awesome," but I am a nervous wreck now that I've finished watching it because the entire film is like extremely intense.
Ah, yes.
He did not have that reaction to many of other things that you think he would, but like we're like, you know what? Maybe we're going to dial down the intensity. Maybe we're not ready for gravity yet, because
oh yeah, and that's interesting because I mean, having read The Martian and expecting so much more to happen,
yeah,
like watching the movie, like the second half, I'm like, nothing is going wrong. Like everything is just working
Mhm.
and things are fine. I'm like, in the book, he had so many more obstacles to overcome.
yeah.
So I had like the absolute opposite reaction. Obviously, not he hasn't read the book and he's a kid, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess you just get to walk to the next site or drive there without any obstacles or hurdles and get saved. All right.
Yeah. We're just gonna skip 7 months here.
Yeah.
that the book does not skip. Yeah. Well, it's funny. Like we, I had recommended. I was like, hey, Flint, maybe you would like to read this. I can lend you my copy. And I was like, or I mean, you're not quite ready for for Project Hail Mary yet, but Nicole, maybe you'd wanna, you'd want to read it.
Project Hail Mary. Ooh, so
Yeah, the film is coming out there. It's in production right
now. Is it really?
Yes.
Yeah, earlier in the year, Andy Weir, I don't know, tweeted or basically let it be known through social media that that he had visited the set of it and was really excited about it. So
well, like, yeah, hey. He's posted because who's playing the main character? It's
Ryan Gosling.
Ryan Gosling.
Sweet.
Oh.
Yeah, he made a joke, and now I wish I could remember the actress's name because now I can't think of her, so it ruins the joke. But who's the actress in La La Land?
Emma Stone.
Emma Stone. He's like, yeah. So the
alien's gonna be Emma Stone.
Yeah, Stone or Rock or whatever his name is in the movie because the my brain's gone. It's just not working. The
cool.
The company wanted to be a romantic comedy, so they're recasting the alien with Emma Stone.
That's good. It's directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller.
Yeah, nice.
That's amazing.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's
more
beautiful.
Things like that, for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's been cool. Lots of video games. Thanks, big hat tip to my sister, and thanks for getting me and my son Void Crew, which is kind of like a sci-fi. It's like Sea of Thieves, only Serenity.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, it's a 4-person or up to 4 people on a ship, or actually probably more. I think you can get ships that like handle 6 people, but you're going out and you're just as a crew. One person's a pilot, another person is the engineer fixing all the stuff that's breaking as you're being shot at. There's another person that's a gunner. You can also do EVAs and like scavenge stuff, and yeah, it.
So how are we all gonna play this later? What? This looks amazing.
Well, right? Yeah.
I'm about to buy this. It's $20.
Pretty freaking sweet, y'all.
It's on sale until January 2nd for $20.
Yeah. Highly recommend it. It I don't know. I mean, y'all, I like arcade games.
Yes.
I like driving games. I like games where you pick it up and you know exactly what you're supposed to be doing. Press A to go. Let's go.
Yeah, just like life.
And so when I play some online games with friends, I have to turn off a little part of my brain that says, why does this feel like work? Sea of Thieves is like that. Void Cruise kind of started off like that. But it's kind of nice to learn a new game like that when you're not also having a day job every day that's sucking your soul.
Ah, yes.
Right? So like this was a nice game to come right at this time. So big thanks to my sister, Jean. You're awesome. Thank you so much. and it came at the right time, and I'm in. I'm down. It's all cool. Like, also recently, y'all, Lower Decks ended.
Oh,
Yeah.
It did. The entire series is done. You can now watch the entire series, and with it, that means 948 episodes of Star Trek have kind of wrapped up, and it stuck the landing. They did a great job,
nice.
But one thing that kind of came out of this was a discussion, an interview with McMahon on off of TrekMovie.com. Mike McMahon mentioned that Netflix execs have been telling screenwriters to have characters announce what they're doing so that viewers who have a program on in the background can follow along. And this was something that he throughout the course of the show, he fought against this quite a bit. And this idea of like the casual viewing like paradigm of you're expecting that people are going to be scrolling on their phones or whatever, or making spaghetti, that and I thought like that's really, yeah, like basically he was told by executives at Paramount Plus that in the first season that too much happens in each episode.
Wow.
And that he needed to remove a lot of plot points in order to make it a simpler show.
No.
Right. And so, Mike McMahon said, like, he told them that the person making spaghetti would have had to gone to the app, clicked play, then started to ignore it. And there's no amount of hand-holding he could do to help them.
Plus, they're still getting the views, even if the person isn't paying attention.
Right. Yeah. But like, it's one of those things where if it doesn't go down easy, maybe the person isn't going to
come back for the next
watch the next episode.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Because it's not that view that they're doing. It's
look,
so like
spaghetti's delicious, but watch Star Trek.
The
You can quote me.
The CEO of Netflix like said a few years ago that their main competitor was not other streaming services, but was sleep.
What?
Yeah. Netflix, they compete for your time. Against sleep. This is not a platform that respects you as a viewer or and a good number of the projects that they've been financing and putting out has been following a media consumption diet that is meant to go down easy and not expect a lot of from people. I mean that seems like a hot take, but I don't think it's something that people can necessarily argue. I don't know. But I guess what I'm saying here is that like I think in 2025 I'm intending to kind of continue with an intentionality in experiencing my media, that like recognizing that while some music is good in the background, sometimes you want to get the liner notes and you want to follow along. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got you, man.
And so yeah, I want my attention to be focused, like occasionally.
I mean,
I want to be challenged. I want to read books.
All of the screens are wanting our attention all the time, right? The algorithm's like, hey, look at this, look at it, and you and you have to be able to recognize that that's happening, and two, if you have your intentionality and reject it, put the phone down and watch the thing, right? Or sit down, turn off all the things and read the book. Or, like this whole idea of always multitasking means you're missing out on tons of stuff because I remember, I think we talked about some study. Never mind. There was something said, and I don't remember where it's from, but like multitasking isn't a real thing. You can't really do two things at once. Your brain is switching back and forth. between focus. And that can cause problems. Some people are good at it. Sometimes you can do it real good, but it's not like a real thing. It's
That's whatever you were talking about for you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Devin.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks, Devin. But I mean, like, that idea is that, like, maybe it's also important to be intentional with our recreation, to, like, not just yes, the multitasking myth is something that maybe can be dispelled a little bit, but also the idea that you can take recreation as seriously as you can take doing other things, and maybe that will make it richer. Maybe
focus.
Yeah.
Focus.
Right? We're amusing ourselves to death, and the idea here is that it's not necessarily about, like, the way amusement may not be rest. It may not be relaxation. It may be something that I don't know. I mean, these are all just, like, they're not codified in my head yet, but this is sort of like a direction that I kind of want to go in the new year, where, like, the last couple of months, it's been very much like, you know what? In the evening, maybe I just pick one thing to do.
Yeah.
And I don't need to, like, shove everything into it in order to make it feel like I'm having fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I've recently been told and then followed through that I need to stop looking at screens half an hour to an hour before I am going to be asleep. And I was like, there's no way it's a real thing, guys. It's so much easier to fall asleep, which is why I've been reading a real book more, because I turn off the screen, I read a book. Hey, I'm feeling a little tired, and then guess what? I fall asleep. So, I mean, things like that, like, stop staring at your phone, everyone. Just, like, so look at your phone all day, all you want, but if you expect to then fall asleep, you have to put it down for a while and not pick it back up when you're not
there's
sleeping.
also, like short form content versus long form content, right? And, like, how we engage with these things. Like, maybe, I don't know, I'm considering also, like, well, what if I'm not scrolling on Reddit? What if I'm picking up the Books app?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And picking up where I left off in the latest book I have, which
put the nighttime light on.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. So, like, you do you, but do recognize that, like, there are healthy things for our brain.
Mm-hmm.
Science. And when you're being unhealthy, do it with intentionality. Like, own it. Yeah. You're an adult. This is acceptable behavior.
If you're an adult. If you're not an adult,
well,
then
you're not an adult. This is not acceptable behavior.
Do what you want to do. Go slug blasting. We gotta move on. We've been going for like 40 minutes now. We haven't even gotten to the future or now yet.
Oh, man.
I feel like we need to take a break, but we can't because we haven't done the thing yet. Unless you guys want to just take a break.
I do have to use the restroom.
All right, you know what? We are going to take a break. Maybe there's 2 breaks this episode. We'll see. We're gonna take ourselves a little break. When we come back, we're doing our future or now, and then we're gonna do book club. So we'll be right back.
Hey everybody, we get things wrong sometimes, and you want to yell at us. Well, yelling at your radio does nothing because you're in a car and we're in the past. If you want to tell us what's going on, you can always comment on our episodes at patreon.com/sciencefactionpodcast, and we'll hear you and we'll respond to you. You're not alone.
And we're back.
Hello.
It's time for science. Or actually, no, future or now.
Stay on brand, Stephen. We can't just change the brand and then you not stay on it. It's really confusing.
After 537 episodes, I do what I want. It's too many episodes. All right, who's gonna go first? Should I roll a
No,
die?
Devin should go. Devin should go first.
Devin,
I should go first.
what you got, man? Tell us. Is this future or is this now?
This is this year in science.
So neither.
Either I don't. Where is my tab? It's not open anymore. And okay, I can open it. There it is.
Yeah,
So
open up a new tab.
Yeah, I got it. So I mean, it's kind of looking for something that was like a review of science for the year. There's a million articles on this. And I don't need to go through each one. I found an article from the Smithsonian Magazine, which is the 10 most significant science stories of 2024. The first one's the total solar eclipse. That one I like because I was there and saw it, and it was a pretty big story that I think a lot of people talked about.
It was everywhere, man.
Yeah. And so it was cool to be there, and my kids got to see it. The next one is scientists unveiled the first ever complete map of an adult fruit fly's brain. I saw this come up on a lot of lists. So for me, I'm like, okay, that's cool, but I don't get why it's that big of a deal, but apparently it is a big deal.
I did a story on this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, fruit flies are important because they're used as an analog for humans so much. So it's good to have as much information about fruit flies as possible. They said the stunning diagram contains roughly 140,000 neurons, including 8,400 different types of neurons and 54.5 million connections. So it's a very complex, complete map of the brain. It wasn't the only leap forward in brain mapping. In May, scientists released a data set charting the neuron synapses and connections in a tiny piece of human brain. That's cool. So, a step forward in understanding brains, which is always important.
Hey, brains matter.
Brains matter, yeah. I mean, for me, I think brains are like pretty much the most interesting thing in the universe, close to towards the top with other things. But all right, so 2024 marked the hottest year on record. So that's obviously important with global warming and climate change and all that entails, which it's funny because in this list, the next thing is not what should connect with that. But if you go down another one, it's 2 hurricanes destroyed parts of the Southeast. And so the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season started off this summer with the storms Beryl. How do you say that?
That's how I say it. Beryl.
Debbie and Francine. But the season really walloped the U.S. in the fall when 2 powerful back-to-back hurricanes devastated the Southeast. Hurricane Helena hit Florida, which was a Category 4 storm that moved north over the Southeast U.S. I had an ad pop up over that and caused wreckage across the region. Sorry, the ad threw me off. The storm spurred landslides, destroyed wildlife habitat. Anyway, we remember that. Then there was Hurricane Milton. So while I think the common thing you're supposed to say is while you can't connect a specific storm or hurricane or event to global warming or climate change, the overall trend is a sign of climate change. So while we don't know if any of these hurricanes would have happened had climate change not occurred, we can for sure note the trend and say that these are happening at a higher rate and with more energy because of the increased heat in the ocean.
Yes.
The next one, an ambitious space mission launched to search for signs of life on a moon. And this is the mission to Europa. And so the NASA's Europa Clipper blasted off on October 14th. The interplanetary spacecraft successfully started its mission toward Europa, the 4th largest moon of Jupiter, which is we believe might have or does have liquid water under its frozen surface, which might be a good candidate for finding life in our solar system other than on Earth. It's the largest spacecraft ever launched to another planet, not to detect life itself, but to see if the moon has conditions that can support life.
Yeah.
The Clipper is equipped with spectrometers, a dust analyzer, a thermal camera, instruments for measuring a magnetic field and gravity, and a radar. So, yeah.
Doesn't Europa, if our calculations are correct, has more water than Earth does?
That I don't know.
I thought I saw that
I
somewhere,
honestly don't know.
but yeah, okay, that's fine.
Um,
I just say things. I have
no,
no,
it could be true, but I don't know. I've never heard that, but I haven't not heard that. So,
Yes.
archaeologists find that mammoth was on the menu for Ice Age Americans. So this was I thought was cool because the way they figured this out was they examined the infant's bones, bones of an infant they found from this era, conducting tests known as a stable isotope analysis. In this method, they studied atoms of an element with varying weights, which can act as a record of what an organism ate and drank. Being a baby, Anzac 1, which is the infant's name, I'm not sure why the mother named it that, but primarily drank his mother's milk, but 1/3 of his diet was composed of solid foods, and chief among them was woolly mammoth. The team also reconstructed what was on the mother's menu based on the remnants of her milk in his bones. Wow. Mammoths made up 40% of what she ate, supplemented by elk, bison, and in rare cases, small mammals such as rodents. Cool. And then Iceland erupts again and again. So I don't think that's too interesting. Volcanoes are cool. The last one, bird flu infected cows and dairy workers. This one isn't actually the last one on the list, but this one, I'm trying to say, in 2022, scientists detected the strain in mammals, which is the bird flu of H5N1. And in 2024, it made headlines once again as the virus cropped up in dairy cows in the United States. They go over where it's been cropping up. Let's see. Researchers detected bird flu in grocery store milk, but federal health officials spread the word that pasteurization kills the virus, so the only milk that could potentially be dangerous was raw milk. Texas Health Department announced a dairy worker in the state had contracted H5N1 in March, marking only the second person infected with the strain in U.S. history. Obviously, it's a concern. So let's see.
Yeah, it's fascinating because a lot of times when I hear about the the challenges that we have with food shortages due to a lot of the stuff, I don't see it. I'm in the middle of California, whatever. But like I went to Food for Less, and the eggs were $9 a dozen,
Really?
and
Wow.
I was like, what is going on? There was a little sign that was like, hey, due to the avian flu, we're having trouble sourcing eggs for all this. And I was like, well, guess I'm not getting eggs today. I can do without. And I was gonna text some of our friends who have chickens, some that may even be on this show, to go like, hey, can I get some of your eggs? But pro tip, you can go to Trader Joe's and they do not have they're down to they're like $2 for a dozen eggs. And I asked somebody about it, and they're like, yeah, well, we have agreements with particular sourcers for eggs, so either we have it in stock or we don't, but we have an agreement on how much we're paying for it. So which other food chains, they just kind of go with whoever the cheapest is at that time.
Right, which is the chicken gulags, which is why the bad stuff goes through them so quickly. Versus
big chicken.
Yeah, big chickens. Big bird. Yeah, I mean that's the thing, right? Because it's the chicken gulag. They're stuck in tiny cages, and diseases go through them very quickly. Versus the more quote expensive eggs, because they treat the chickens better, and then because of that they produce less because there's less chickens, but the animals are healthier, and so you don't have to deal with that as much. It's a whole thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
sorry, Davin.
I mean, that's really most of it. They're the same issue. In recent weeks, the pathogen has made headlines again as epistemologists and policymakers share concerns about what disease preparedness might look like under the upcoming Trump administration. In December, the Department of Agriculture announced it would test raw milk for avian flu, but because the virus does not appear to be spreading between people, the Biden administration reportedly has no plans to authorize a vaccine for humans. For now, though, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention maintains that the risk to the general public remains low. And that's about it. The last one is about colorful auroras dazzled viewers across the planet. That was interesting, but I don't think there's much like new science there. So that's it. This week, they're not this year in science.
Did y'all get to see any auroras?
I did not.
No.
Me neither.
It's fine. It's lights in the sky, whatever. Nature
I
fireworks.
mean, I'm not gonna say it. Never mind.
Devin was about to drop a banger and he decided against it.
I mean, Aurora sounds like a great stripper name, so there's easy jokes there. But
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Whenever I go to the club, it's always Borealis on stage, and that's not as good.
A real Borealis.
Am
I right?
He's Russian. All right, let's move right along. I'm gonna do mine next. I'm calling this one "Now Who's Going Viral" in a really snotty tone. This comes from Science Daily. It was published on December 27th. The real title here: "Virus that threatened humanity opens the future." This is kind of a short article. It's kind of interesting, though. So viruses are uniquely designed to encapsulate genetic material within spherical protein shells, enabling them to replicate and invade host cells, often causing disease. Inspired by these complex structures, researchers have been exploring artificial proteins modeled after viruses. These, quote, nanocages mimic viral behavior, effectively delivering therapeutic genes to target cells. However, existing nanocages face significant challenges. Their small size restricts the amount of genetic material they can carry, and their simple designs fall short of replicating the multifunctionality of natural viral proteins. Guess what, guys? AI to the rescue!
Yay.
To address these limitations, the research team used AI-driven computational design. While most viruses display symmetrical structures, they also feature subtle asymmetries. Leveraging AI, the team recreated these nuanced characteristics and successfully designed nanocages in tetrahedral, octahedral, and icosahedral shapes for the first time. The resulting nanostructures are composed of 4 types of artificial proteins, forming intricate architectures with 6 distinct protein-protein interfaces. Among these, the icosahedral structure, measuring up to 75 nanometers in diameter, stands out for its ability to hold 3 times more genetic material than conventional gene delivery vectors, such as adeno-associated viruses, AAV, marking a significant advancement in gene therapy. So, I mean, that's super cool, right? We're like, hey, how do we fix these cells? Make our own viruses. Okay, check. How do we do that? Oh, we make little. Okay, that barely works. How do we make this better? Get the AI to do it, and then the AI went, all right, fine, and made better stuff, and that's super cool. I think electron microscopy confirmed the AI designed nanocages achieved precise symmetrical structures as intended. Functional experiments further demonstrated their ability to effectively deliver therapeutic payloads to target cells, paving the way for practical medical applications. I mean, that's just super cool that we're using different technologies in conjunction for health reasons, right? You got the AI, you got genetic stuff, you put it together. We're making viruses, guys. We're cooking. We're doing this. We're making.
Nice.
We're like nature. That's fine, but we can do it better. and I look forward to when the zombie outbreak happens, because this will be why 100%.
Ain't no virus like a human-made virus, because a human-made virus don't stop.
Boom, mic drop. I mean, that's it for my article. I mean, it's super small and quaint, but I mean that's it, man. That's good stuff. I love a good viral story.
Yeah, indeed.
What you got, y'all, Ben? You got some future? You got some now? What you got?
Neither. I also let's go into the past, y'all. So in 2016, a film came out called Hidden Figures, which I just recently watched. It's about the space race between Russia and NASA and how they found untapped talent in a group of African-American female mathematicians that served as the brains behind one of the greatest operations in U.S. history of putting a man in space, an American man in space.
Are there any other kind?
No. Confirmed.
But so this is a biopic about the unbelievably true life stories of 3 of these women known as human computers. And these women were quickly rising the ranks of NASA alongside many of history's greatest minds, specifically tasked with calculating the momentous launch of astronaut John Glenn into orbit and guaranteeing his safe return. Now, so 3 Black women follows their story, kind of,
say their names.
Say their names. So Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, and Catherine Goebbels Johnson, they had, they earned their place amongst the greats, and in fact got us there, and had to face an incredible amount of sexism and bigotry and racism in order to get there. And this film was incredible. It was, and it's really on the incredible work of a great script, incredible cinematography, and the acting of Taraji P. Henson, Octavia Spencer, and Janelle Monáe, just being a joy to watch. Watch this film, y'all, if you have any interest in the history of the space program, or it's really, really good.
Yeah, it's good.
And I think that it's fascinating though, because there's a little anachronism that I noticed about halfway through the film. Nobody smokes in this film.
Fail.
And
I'm never gonna watch it. No, I'm kidding.
Well, like I thought that was a really fascinating choice, right? And I didn't notice it until I saw Kevin Costner in almost every scene. Like he grabs a piece of chewing gum and sticks it in his mouth and starts chewing. And I was like, that's a weird thing. Like, oh wait, nobody's smoking in any of this. Nobody's smoking in the entire movie. And this is an anachronism I can kind of get behind for the health of the actors and crew making this film. Like,
yeah,
why expose them to secondhand smoke or firsthand smoke? It's not
whatever
an
happened to
thing.
suffering for your art, though.
Whatever did. Yeah.
Well, this is gonna blow your mind, Ben, but sometimes cigarettes in movies aren't real cigarettes.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, I don't think people smoke real cigarettes in movies.
It's some yes, some no, but mostly it's like a herbal mixture. It's not like hell. It's not as good as not smoking, but it's also not as bad.
It would have been funny if they were vaping. That would be that's a mechanism.
There you go.
I'm curious. Because I have not seen this movie. I want to. I've heard nothing but good things about it. But did NASA have rules about smoking in their facilities? I'm curious. I have no idea.
In Apollo 13, I'm trying to remember. I've seen the movie a million times, but I never really paid attention to people smoking. I feel like they smoked in that movie.
I think that they did, yeah.
Okay.
And while it's an alternate universe, I know that they did in For All Mankind. Yeah. Plenty of smoking there. So it's just an interesting thing that, like, of that era, I'm used to seeing a lot of depictions of smoking, and this film had none of it. And it was it's just something that, like, I was like, oh wow, is this something that we can move beyond? Like, is that an important thing to have
also
for credibility?
What exactly is an anachronism if you take something away that you would expect? Because it's perfectly possible for people to not smoke. That's not, while obviously people would have been smoking, it's not like you're not breaking the timeline by saying people aren't doing something that they could have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Huh.
But isn't
It's
this
inaccurate, but it's
also
not an anachronism.
erasing true history? And like that's dumb. I mean, this
Well,
doesn't
it's
bother
like-
me at all. But it's like, it's when you make a movie, like what's your responsibility to telling the truth? Like this movie is very much like, hey, check out this real thing that happened that people don't know about. But at the same time, they're also lying through their teeth about smoking, which, I mean, and again, I don't have a problem with it. I'm playing devil's advocate, but like, if you are truly making a movie depicting a true history, why would you take a small piece of that history and just omit it?
Mm.
I'm curious if this was like something done for a reason, for a purpose, or if it was just like, we don't want to deal with that. Can we just skip having to deal with smoke? Sure, let's just skip it. It doesn't. I would imagine that does not change the rest of the story at all. And like Devin says, just by not showing it doesn't mean it didn't happen. We're just not showing it. Whatever. So yeah, it's an interesting choice, and I'm curious about its intentionality. Was it there for a real reason, or were people just like, look, we don't want our sets to be stinky and have cancer, so let's just skip that part.
But yeah. So amongst the main actresses in it, the tertiary characters, secondary characters, like and actors are really incredible. You've got Kevin Costner, like I mentioned, Kirsten Dunst, Jim Parsons, Mahershala Ali. Like it's Glenn Powell is in Aldous Hodge. Just
some good people.
It was epic. It's a movie with people in it, but it also is a very good movie and a good use of your time.
How did you watch it?
On my television, I guess.
What?
Why?
What service? No,
what streaming service?
If
what
I
streaming
wanted
service
to watch
can
it,
someone watch it on?
Yeah,
is a very good question. I think you could probably watch it on Prime.
Okay.
But I mean, it's the end of the year, so who knows what streaming service you'll be able to watch it on as this episode comes out.
That's true. According to the internet, it's on Apple TV, it's on YouTube, it's on Google Play Movies and the Microsoft Store. So it looks like
you know what? I watched it on Apple TV Plus. That's what
$4. $4.
Jen read the book. I mean, because the book came out around the same time as the movie, and she said that what was interesting is that the book is not like a novelization of the movie or a dramatic narrative. It's really just a history book.
Okay.
So if you read the book, just be aware that don't expect like in a story format. It's more of just like a documentary history book format.
Also, all the hardcover, all of the hardcover books come with a pack of cigarettes. So you can have a smoke.
You're
while
supposed
you're
to hold them up to the screen as you're watching.
Right.
Whenever you see someone chew gum, just hold up the cigarette to their mouth.
It is also of note to say, like, while this is a story about people doing incredibly complex mathematics, they do not, like, it moves at a very fast clip. It's not, it doesn't get bogged down in the weeds of having to learn differential calculus. No. Like, you're fine.
Why even watch it?
Well, and is it true that the word computer was first used to refer to people doing math, and possibly these particular people, I think.
To the job. Yeah, the job
and
of people
so
computing.
What we think of as a computer is named after humans doing that job.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
More people stealing robots' jobs. I like to see a computer smoke a cigarette.
There's a great quote in the film from Kevin Costner's character as he tears down a sign that like is about segregating bathrooms, because he's like, the main character, she has to leave her desk and go all the way across the campus at the Space Center in order to go to the bathroom, and so she's away twice a day for like 40 minutes because it's all the way, like, she has to walk a mile and a half to get to the bathroom. And he says, as he's tearing down this sign that says "Colored Ladies Room." He says, "Tell everyone that here at NASA we all pee the same color."
Ooh.
And I was like, "Yeah, my man."
I mean, that's yes, 100% yes. But also, like, hey, get back to work. What's with all this walking to the bathroom? We need
Right? Yeah,
we
but
need
I mean,
you
like,
mathing now.
he actually he gets on her case about it. He's like, "I'm expecting you to be here at your desk and doing your job," and she's like, "I don't, I can't." And she talks back to him in a rare moment where that happens in this film, and he's like, "All right, well, I guess something needs to be happen. You know, it needs to be changed here," and it was good times.
Very
So
good.
yeah, watch the film.
Good times had by all.
Figures. Yeah, Hidden Figures.
All right. In an unprecedented turn of events, we're taking a second break.
Second break. What kind of show is this?
This is the last show of 2024 or 2014 if you're Devin, apparently. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, we are doing book club. We are talking about The Sound of Thunder by Ray Bradbury.
Where are the trucks?
Where are the trucks? Wow. So we'll be right back again.
Are you an aspiring author with a Word document, but you want it to be a book? Penciled In's got your solution. Working with authors to bring their work to life through print on demand. I'm Benjamin Daniel Lawless, and I've designed over 70 books since 2005. I collaborate closely with authors to get their books printed and sold through Amazon. From cover to layout, bring your vision to life. Learn more at penciledin.com.
And we're back again.
Heyo.
Hey.
And a big thank you to our patrons, Renee and Josh. Thank you. Happy New Year.
Yeah. May all the things and songs and stuff, whatever, who knows the words. All right, let's do book club.
Next week, we're going to be talking about The 9 Billion Names of God.
Oh, that's going to be
by
such
Arthur
a
C.
long
Clarke.
episode. It's good with all the names. Sorry.
Which came out in 1953 and is often given the title of one of the best short stories written before the Nebula Awards were created in the mid-1960s.
Wow.
So, it's good times. But this week, it's The Sound of Thunder by Ray Bradbury. Where do you want to start, y'all?
Should we summarize the story?
Sure,
briefly?
Devin, give us a summary. What is this about?
Okay, well, this story is about time travel.
Yes.
And if you've seen the episode of The Simpsons where Homer goes back in time to the time of the dinosaurs and then comes back to the future, and things are different. It's that episode is based on this short story.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
So it starts off with the characters. They go to this company that advertises that you can go back in time to kill things,
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
which is the best use of time travel.
Time Safari Inc. Safaris to any year in the past. You name the animal, we take you there, you shoot it.
That's hilarious. But
Yeah.
so they go back in time. They go back. They want to kill a T-Rex. They go back to that time. They're in a time machine. They have to put on these suits with oxygen, like a mask and oxygen and everything. And then when they get there, there's a path that actually levitates off the ground. And the person who's the guide explains,
Mr. Travis.
explains that you can't alter the past because it could have significant effects in the future. So they understand this. They're aware of this potential problem, which is cool. And they even go into great detail about how changing one little thing has a much wider effect, basically the butterfly effect. He explains how, well, if you step on a mouse or a rat now, all its family, all the future generations of that rat. So if you just kill one thing, you're actually killing millions of things in the future, and then all the animals that would have use those animals to eat, and then how that can have a huge effect in the future. Pretty good explanation or description of the butterfly effect and how that can be in any context. Like, that's why they can't even breathe the air. They don't want to introduce pathogens to the past. They're everything they have is sterilized before they go back if they stay on the path. Even the animals you kill, they've scouted ahead to find animals that were going to die naturally, or basically, if a branch was going to happen to fall on a T-Rex and kill it.
Why is that funny, Devin?
Well, the odds, I mean, I'm sure that happened. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. People nowadays die from branches falling on them. I mean, we live in an area where that's a real possibility. But to find that, how long would you have to observe a T-Rex before you found one that was going to die from a branch falling on it?
Okay,
I mean, time has no meaning, right? Like with time travel.
Yeah.
For the person themselves who have to do that job, they still they age at their normal rate, presumably. I don't know how would you find that? How would you find an animal, a dinosaur? Okay, you have a time machine. Okay, go back and pick a year, pick a time, go back, stay on a path, because obviously you can't, as they've already established, you can't mess up the past. So you can't just go searching around everywhere on the planet for a dinosaur who's going to happen to die of natural causes. You have to stay in pretty much one location, observe all the dinosaurs around it, and wait for one that's going to die naturally somehow.
All right. So how would we do this in present day? We would probably have a satellite system that would be able to observe these things without directly impacting the environment. I imagine that this society that is able to have an anti-gravity path that people can walk on can place a probe into orbit that would
I don't think they said that, though. The guy said, I went back earlier and scouted ahead.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But how that happened and what tools he used, whether he used drones or used any other kinds of things to do a large canvassing, like technology to canvass the area, seems. I mean, this is not directly written in the story for sure, but it doesn't seem to be outside the realm of possibility.
Okay. Well, first, it's not. You asked why I was laughing, and that's why. I still think it's highly unlikely that you'd be able to find that, especially enough times to facilitate a company that makes money off sending people back all the time to kill animals.
Hold on. The thing, and yes, Devin, I get it. It's kind of silly, but dinosaurs were around for millions of years. Millions. Right? How long, how many millions of years were T-Rexes around? You gotta, law of averages, you just skip ahead, at 20-year increments until you find one that dies in a weird way. And you could do that for a very long time if you've got a couple million years to search through.
But you don't have a million years subjectively to do that.
I totally understand that. This is a science fiction story, and a lot of this stuff doesn't make sense.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing about the story. I'm just explaining the story, and that's one element of it. And I was chuckling because the whole thing's unrealistic. It's time travel, but that one particular thing, given the constraints of the story, to find this particular occurrence and then exploit an occurrence like that over and over, I don't see how, without very sophisticated technology, that would likely be more intrusive on the environment and cause those problems you're trying to avoid. Like, you could tag all the dinosaurs and be like, oh, hey, on our system, this one stopped moving. It probably died. Let's go back a day and track this dinosaur and see how it died. And then we can figure all that out. But you're introducing all these other elements to the environment that could cause all these problems you're trying to avoid. Yeah. I'm just saying, I think it's unrealistic to find something like that. I still find it so unrealistic that I'm chuckling about it.
Well, something interesting that they don't go into in this story either. The story is based around going back, killing a T-Rex, yes, but they talk about any animal, anytime. Like, I would imagine that going the farther back you go, that the more expensive it's going to be, right? Because the more risk that is involved to the timeline. Like, I imagine these are like the billionaires who get to go hunt a T-Rex, but normally it's just somebody, I want to go kill a dodo, or like something that doesn't really exist anymore or whatever, right? And that's a lot less risk and a lot easier to do.
There's one thing I forgot to check. What year did this story come out?
1952, I believe.
Okay. 1952. I have a interest calculator. So 1952, and they said they paid $10,000, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that today would have been $121,000.
And the story.
So that's more realistic because you hear $10,000. I'm like $10,000 to go time traveling. Like I'd pay that.
And the story's
I don't
set
have-
in 2055. So
So let me.
so keep.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's still written in the idea that we're supposed to perceive how much money that is. So I don't think I need to go to 2055, and my calculator won't do future.
Get on
because we don't know that.
You don't have a time travel calculator? Come on.
No. But I do. So I use this calculator. I use it all the time when watching TV, movies, or whatever. It is where did it go? I just used it. It's called ICTCM. But where's the word for it? It's specifically, I think, for doing this kind of thing. Yeah, check movies. Like, it's so that when you're watching something and they do talk about you're watching something historical and they mention money, you can be like, well, what? Like, I hear $10 in 1930. It's like, well, I don't know if that's a lot of money or nothing.
You need,
so you
need
check
context.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really cool. And then sometimes you're like, well, actually the numbers don't make sense because they must have adjusted it so that we as the audience understood that it's a lot of money. Because if it's like a story that takes place in 1950 and they're buying a house for $100,000, you're like, wait a minute, that's actually too much because that's now millions of dollars today, and that house is only like a 2-bedroom house. So they must have tried to adjust it some other way. Anyway, it's fun to do that.
So you're the person that the Netflix producers are like, you got to simplify it. They're on their calculators calculating monies. We need less plot points because they're not paying attention.
No, they're paying attention too much.
Yeah,
Here's
I'm
the
overanalyzing
anti-Netflix.
it. I'm like, you have to tell me whether or not you've already adjusted for inflation, or if not, so that I know what these characters in the show actually think about this amount of money for what they're buying.
I could just see a character like in a period piece going, this is going to cost us $10 billion. This adjusted for 2024 inflation.
Exactly. They need that.
I mean, it would be interesting if before you saw some period piece where it just like a thing comes up on the screen, like all numbers have been adjusted for inflation. We got to get some gas. $10 a gallon. That's a steal.
And no smoking.
Yeah, and no one's smoking. Exactly.
Yeah.
All the smoke's been erased. All right, so rich people are going back in time to shoot a T-Rex.
And so they find it. It kind of goes haywire. One of the guys gets scared, steps off the path, and crushes. Well, he goes off the path, and that they eventually shoot the T-Rex. And they even say like, we can't take it with us because whatever animals are going to feed on it now would have fed on it normally after its untimely demise from a tree branch, and so we can't mess with that. And so that's cool. That seems accurate. And
you want a picture? I take a picture.
Yeah, you want a
of it?
picture?
And they're like, nah.
Yeah. And so the other element that there's some foreshadowing for in the very beginning is they talk about the recent presidential election and how it went a particular way, and everyone's like, oh, I'm glad this person won. They seem to be a cool dude, and the other guy's would have been a dictator. And then they go. So now after the whole thing with the T-Rex, they go back to the future, and I think they say the phrase "Back to the Future."
I don't remember that, but that's fine.
Yes, they do. They say it.
Where?
They say it twice.
What?
We can't take a trophy back to the future.
Oh,
the body has to stay right here.
All right.
And then that was us passing ourselves on the way back to the future. We saw nothing.
Oh, okay. All right.
Good eye, Devin.
Well done. You win the
Yeah.
podcast.
And so they go back to the future, and when they get there, they're like, things seem a little off. The air smells a little different, and then I think some of the writing seems off. And then they go in, and they're like, oh, the other guy won the election. And then the guy who stepped off the path, they're like, what did you do? And they look under his boot, and there's a dead butterfly. So he killed a butterfly in the past. And then they shoot him.
That was the sound of thunder. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not just that the other guy won the election. It's the idea here is that, like, they say at the beginning that when they give a description of the man who lost the election in the prime timeline. He says that makes you think if the election had gone badly yesterday, I might be here now running away from the results. Thank God Keith won. He'll make a fine president of the United States. Yes, said the man behind the desk. We're lucky. If Deutscher had gotten in, we'd have the worst kind of dictatorship. There's an anti-everything man for you. A militarist, anti-Christ, anti-human, anti-intellectual. People called us up, joking but not joking, said if Deutscher became president, they wanted to go live in 1492. Now, at the end, when they get to the new timeline, that Time Safari Inc. sign that Stephen that you mentioned earlier, it's written out and they show it, but it's every word is misspelled. And here is a timeline in which it's the survival of the fittest.
Actually,
in which intellectualism.
Shoot is spelled the same way.
Oh,
I wonder if that's on
that's
purpose.
True. Yeah.
And and past, but everything else is messed up.
They went into a world where anti-intellectualism is actually the desired quality that is in the society. And so when Deutscher won, they're saying, "Oh, thank God he did. The other guy was a weakling."
Yeah, we've got an Iron Man now, a man with guts.
Yeah,
the official stop.
Sound familiar?
Right.
Jeez.
So, but what's funny, I enjoyed the story. It's more fun to criticize time travel stories, but just to poke holes in them.
Mm-hmm.
I like how this and so many other stories like this, you change one thing millions of years ago, or even not even that far back ago, and you come back to the future, and things are very similar to the way they are when you left, but there are small changes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we changed something millions of years ago, but all the same people were born and exist in these two presidential to such extent that these two presidential candidates were still born and raised and live their lives very similar to how they were in the original timeline, except for a different person won. It's like in Star Trek when they have the alternate timeline. And they have multiple
mirror universe,
but the mirror universe where it's like, okay, we are changing the nature of the Federation. It's not even the Federation, but yet the same people are still born. The same people still come together as groups of people. Like, in the original series, you have the same characters on the Enterprise, and then in Deep Space Nine, while those characters don't have the same roles they do in the original universe, they're all still there and come together. It's like the way chaos theory works and the butterfly effect works is a small change early in whatever system has huge drastic changes to the results. So, I mean, you crushed a butterfly a million years ago and you would possibly come back, and civilization might not exist, or if it exists, it looks completely different, and certainly none of the same people were ever born. Like,
right.
That kind of thing. I just think it's funny how it's a fun thing to use to have these stories to be like, oh, well, let's change our present in some small way, and it's fun to play with. That's fine. But I'm just saying, realistically, you couldn't have so much similar stuff happen, and yet these small changes occurred in the present, even though you changed something so early in the calculation.
Yeah, it does not make a lot of sense that the technology to develop time travel would have been developed by a civilization,
an anti-intellectual civilization.
Yeah, for sure.
Although that could just be how they felt now. I mean,
right.
We have all our modern technology and stuff, but we still elect idiots. I mean, it's
So hold on. I want to talk about this because Devin, what you're describing, the kind of changes in this world, a guy wrote about it. So I put a link, Dinosaur World, Dinosaur Planet, Dinosaur Samurai, Dinosaur Warriors, Dinosaur Empire, and Dinosaur Conquest is a series of books by Stephen Lay that build upon this story. The first one, Dinosaur World, the cover of it has Travis and the T-Rex on it. It retells this story in this other book.
Cool.
And what actually?
Oh yeah, it's a Ray Bradbury Presents series. That's interesting.
So this is an author. And so I put a link to his like wanted writer for hire. So he was like hired to write some books. And so let's see. The 6-book series is based on the world in Ray Bradbury's short story, A Sound of Thunder, one of the classics of the field. If you're not familiar with it, it's reprinted in Dinosaur Planet. These books are prominently labeled Ray Bradbury Presents, and I often find them in bookstores under Bradbury as under Lay. Not that I'm complaining, mind you, since I'm sure they sell better there. I took on the project because 1, I was between books, 2, I've always loved Ray Bradbury's writing, and 3, I needed the money. I did get to meet Ray Bradbury in the course of writing these, and that was an extraordinary pleasure. I got to sit and talk with him. It was the best part of the project. He seemed to be exactly what you think he would be, reading his books, a gentle, kind, and talented man. I read these books when I was a kid. I've talked about these books before on this podcast. I had no idea that they were based on a Ray Bradbury short story. And the whole idea behind these books is the thing happened, and then Travis goes back to try and fix it and messes up everything. And these kids, the kids are involved. They end up going back, and what happens is they go. There's like all these like alternate realities and stuff, but what it settles into is that dinosaurs become intelligent and humanity never happens. And so like that's the kind of change you were talking about, Devin. When you change a little thing, it would actually change a ton of stuff, and that's exactly what this little book series is about. Like there's a whole dinosaur society. One of the kids like has to learn their language, and then they by other time travel shenanigans, they end up in a place where like there are humans, but it's like samurai that exist at the same time as dinosaurs. It gets very sci-fi, very kind of silly. I never read all 6 books. I only read 4 of them. I was never able to find the 5th and 6th book. And now I'm thinking maybe I should. They came out in 1992 was Dinosaur World, and the last one came out in 1995, Dinosaur Conquest. Very interesting. And Travis is a main character in some of the books. Anyways, I thought that was really interesting. When I was reading this short story, I was like, I've read this before. What? I've never read this, but I've read this before. And that's exactly what it was. It said it was reprinted in Dinosaur Planet, and that's pretty much was like as a flashback, the short story was in there. Like, here's what really happened. Here's how it all started. That kind of thing.
On YouTube, you can find a show like Bradbury Tales or something where they actually do this story. Like you can just watch it as a TV show.
I think didn't we put a link to that last week?
I think we did. Yeah, but we didn't.
I didn't watch it.
Or I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch it. I watched like a couple seconds of it just to see what it looked like.
How did it look, Devin? Kind of rough.
I mean, it looked like a cheap 90s or 80s TV show.
Yep. Yeah. But so like kind of back to the discouragement at election results.
Yes.
I read that and I felt it gave me a lot of hope in an interesting way. And just a reminder that for every election there's going to be somebody discouraged about the results.
Well, that's also what I was thinking, where it's like, oh, no, this person won. It's like, yeah, but the majority of people voted for them. So while it's like that, what can you do? Like, you can't like, oh, they're like at the very beginning of the book when they talk about the election going the wrong way, I'm like, well, you can't really go back in time and change the election, because if you went back, a few months before the election and be like, no, you don't get it. This person's going to win. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, because that's who I'm voting for. Like, you can't change my mind. Like, you've tried during the original election. You already tried to convince people to vote for the way you think is the best.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's just that idea that, it's a nice reminder that this isn't new. Yeah.
It's like anything that happens in the next 4 years, I'm not going to be paying attention that hard, but if anyone complains about what happens, I'm like, yeah, I don't care. That you voted for it. Shut up. That's what you get.
Yeah. FOFO or FAFO.
First in,
No.
Burst out. Finally.
They effed around, and now they're finding out.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay.
There's a whole thing. This was a fun story, a fun little like sci-fi time travel-y story that goes to great lengths to explain the butterfly effect. I mean, they use a mouse at first, and then later it was an actual butterfly. But and the Sound of Thunder was Travis, because he threatened this guy, because the main guy, the thing that we didn't really talk about, the main guy who ends up stepping off the path, he sees this T-Rex coming after him and just freaks out, like, I can't do this, there's no way, he's gonna kill us all. And they're just like, stay on the path, go back to the machine, don't touch anything, it's fine, we'll refund half your money. But he stepped off the path.
Yeah. Well, what's fascinating too is that, like, into the world that they go into, like, originally they were going to like penalize him through another means, but at the end they're in a world in which it is perfectly acceptable to pull a gun and shoot this guy in the office building, right?
We don't see what happens after that, but true. Like, I mean, that was the whole thing, is Travis was like, if you mess up, I will kill you. Like, he says that as they're traveling back in time. He's like, I don't care. You mess this up, you're messing up all of reality, and you are going to be like, he's threatening them, like, you have to understand how important this is. You will die if you screw up. And in the end, he wasn't lying.
No, yeah.
Well, I just like, again, it's so important. This is such a serious undertaking. There's such monumental consequences, but it's worth it. I gotta shoot a T-Rex, you know? I mean, it's worth the risk, I guess.
If this story was written now, this would be a billionaires in a submarine situation, where it's like, hey, they're the super duper ultra rich, and they want to do what they want to do. Yeah.
I think it's important to note, according to the Wikipedia article about chaos theory, or the butterfly effect, that this was the origination of the term butterfly effect.
That's what I was wondering, because I was like, it's. I mean, that would be such a strange coincidence for the butterfly effect idea to be called that and be the same thing completely independently of this.
Right. Yeah.
Because this was when did, again, I'm sorry, I already asked, when did
1952.
And was that before the origination of chaos theory?
It was
no,
before
chaos
Ian
theory
Malcolm,
kind of started in the 1800s by Johann Gottlieb Fichte.
Maybe that's the wrong.
It's not chaos theory. It's
there's a particular, I guess, modern chaos theory, because there's a particular person, and now I can't remember their name, who's credited kind of with the modern ideas of chaos. No.
Jacques Hadamard, Alan Turing.
No.
Ian Malcolm, I'm telling you.
All right.
I don't know.
No, it's where I guess maybe not. It's where it's applied to weather.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a particular subsection of chaos theory that we talk about, because it's it'd probably take me too long to figure it out. But he's the one who figured out maybe that just that particular. I guess I can't talk about it with any because I don't know. I guess I didn't realize.
Yeah. You didn't know how dumb you were until you tried to talk.
Yeah, I didn't know how dumb I was. Yeah.
See, that's the
welcome to having a podcast.
Because it comes
with
out,
these idiots.
It's at a time when we had the ability, I guess, through computers, because the idea is it's not just the change in initial conditions. It's just the simple fact of not the detail of the information. Whereas if you have the information to a particular point past the decimal, if you go like 10 digits past a decimal, that much detail of information, if you get rid of just one of those, you just truncate it and say, well, obviously we don't need the information of to the trillionth decimal point, let's just get rid of that even that small little bit of change in information for initial conditions will have a huge change in the outcome. And that's applied specifically to weather predictions, is where the person I'm trying to think of started what I am calling modern chaos theory, but maybe it's a subsection of chaos theory.
There was Henri Poincaré, a French dude, I think.
Was that him?
French mathematician, theoretical physicist, engineer, and philosopher of science. He's often described as a polymath and in mathematics as the last universalist, since he excelled in all fields of the discipline as it existed during his lifetime. He has further been called the Gauss of modern mathematics due to his success in science, influence.
No, Lorenz. That's who I'm thinking of.
Ah,
Sorry.
okay. Lorenz.
In chaos theory, the butterfly effect is the sensitive dependence on initial conditions in which a small change in one state of a deterministic nonlinear system can result in large differences in a later state. The term is closely associated with the work of mathematician and meteorologist Edward Norton Lorenz. This was in the 1970s, so this is the part I'm thinking of. But yes,
the name
theory
Lorenz
that chaos in general
sounds familiar.
Existed before that, so I do apologize. It was not the beginning of chaos theory.
It's when you said Lorenz, that sounded familiar, and I think they must be mentioned in Jurassic Park, being talked about by Ian Malcolm. I know I've said jokingly Ian Malcolm a few times, but Michael Crichton was so good about putting real science stuff in his books. I'm pretty sure Ian Malcolm went off and talked about Lorenz at some point, and that sounds familiar. Anyways, Sound of Thunder. I give it 2 broken butterfly wings up. How about you guys? What do you guys think about this short story?
It's on the anti-gravity path for me, for sure.
I liked it. It's good.
All right. Great.
Thanks, Evan.
Thanks for being so entertaining, guys. What's interesting in those dumb dinosaur books I was talking about, the path becomes a very important plot point, because at one point he goes back in time to the same time, and the two paths collide and explode, and then those little bits of the path are how they end up rejiggering the time machine and traveling around more. So that floating path, real important in those other books. Anyways. Yeah, let's wrap this up. This is a long episode. That's okay. This is the end of 2024. Guys, we did it. Another year in the can.
In the can.
In the trash can. I look forward to continuing this podcast in the future. I believe as
we got to do more.
It's not the end, sir.
Have you not heard enough?
Next year, season 2, episode 1. Oh no,
man! 538 episodes. This is season 1's done, y'all.
Season 1. We're going the Star Trek route. We're gonna do 900 and something episodes and then be canceled. No. All right. This has been us for this year. We'll see you guys next year. Devin, what are your final thoughts on 2024 or 2014, whatever you want?
I have no final thoughts.
All right, Ben, you got any last words to say?
He's speechless. Well, I went to the zoo the other day, but the only animal they had there was a small dog. It was a pretty Shih Tzu.
You got me. Good night, everybody.
This has been the Science Faction Podcast. Tweet to the host at SciFact Podcast. Email them at sciencefactionpodcast@gmail.com and visit sciencefactionpodcast.com for more episodes.